All right, guys, we are in the final section of DIY technical design. We're starting section 10 today, where we're going to be talking about sourcing and manufacturing for your apparel brand. And if you've been following along, you know that I have a super big surprise for you guys today, and I'm so excited to announce it. So let's get into it. So you might be wondering why there's so much secrecy inside of trying to find a factory to produce your apparel or accessory product. And the reason behind that is kind of three main pillars. The first one being that companies don't want to have competition within the factory, meaning that if they are the largest program that the factory has and they're making the factory the most money, they have a lot of leverage over the factory, and they don't want another large company coming in and taking away some of that power. The second reason is why transparency has become such a huge topic in the fashion industry. There may be a factory that the company is working with that either doesn't have fair working conditions, doesn't have any sustainability practices in place, or just overall, isn't living up to certain regulations or standards that companies or consumers are used to in the US or other major countries. So in order to avoid bad publicity, companies may not want to share what factories they're working with. And the final reason is having a competitive edge. In most cases, a company is going to be following certain trends for the season, a lot of which relate specifically to fabric or certain silhouettes. And if two companies are direct competitors and they're both producing at the same factory, both using the same fabric, same silhouette, you can see how the competition is going to almost become too much, especially if one company has like better marketing than the other. And so they're just trying to keep that information private so that their competitors don't have a competitive edge over them. If you've already started doing some research into finding a factory, I'm sure you've already had a ton of frustration over trying to find what's going to work well, where to even look. I mean, there's so many things, and I 100% feel you. Like, trying to find a factory and trying to find source materials and stuff can be the most challenging part of owning a apparel business, especially if you're not working directly with like an agent who has factory connections and you're really trying to do it all on your own, which is what this series is all about. So I have over time really wanted to provide a resource for fashion startups and for new designers. When I was starting out, I wish that I had a resource to go to where it was like, these are factories that you can look at, and sort of like a jumping off point. When I was starting out, I really didn't have any money to devote to. There are some search platforms that you can pay for to find factories and get connected to factories, but like when you're just starting out, you really have to pinch your pennies. I mean, and I totally get it. Like, I am 100% there. So over time, I have had this idea, and I have had a lot of debate with myself about how I would create it, how I would manage it, what it would look like, and if I would sell it or if it would be free. And I'm so excited to announce what you've all been waiting for all this time is that I have created the ultimate fashion resource directory. It is a live page on my website that I will be consistently updating. It's launching now with over 100 different resources to choose from, and it will only continue to grow. And it is 100% free, accessible to anyone, and I'm just so excited because I feel like this will be a huge resource for fashion designers, for fashion professionals, for brands, for startup fashion companies, to just like have this free resource that isn't available anywhere else, that no one else has created. And the only things that are similar to it are paid subscriptions to search platforms. And so I only hope that it just continues to grow and continues to help as many people as possible. So you should definitely check that out. I've included also on that a little facts section, and you can, if you have any recommendations, or if you are a manufacturing company or fabrics and trims, there's a bunch of different sections that you can check out. But if you have any recommendations, or you're a company that wants to provide that, there is a little section, a little form you can fill out to let me know that you'd like to be included on the directory, so definitely check that out. So let's get into some other ways that you can go about finding factories, manufacturing, and sourcing for your apparel company. So if you want to do your own research, the first and most popular way is just to start on a search engine like Google, and really using specific terms to search for the specific kind of factory that you're looking for. So you may be wanting to find like low minimum manufacturers for denim or something along those lines. I have a few examples in the blog post, of course, please go check that out. It has way more detail than what I'll talk about here. But that's a good place to look for kind of like how you can set up your search terms to be a little bit more specific for what you are exactly looking for. Because just like apparel companies are servicing a specific customer or a certain type of apparel, factories are doing the same thing. There's, bag manufacturers, and there's jean manufacturers, and there's, so there's a bunch of different ways that you can go in and look in that way. There are also a few places that you can look. Etsy is a great resource as of recently to go and try to find factories or custom manufacturers. And that's because a lot of factories have started to use Etsy as a platform to market themselves. So if you're looking for low minimum manufacturers, that's actually a really great place to look. Another wonderful resource is Alibaba, which you may have been on before. It's sort of like Amazon, but you can buy like pre-made goods and then essentially sell them as your own. It's sort of like a wholesale website. But what's great about Alibaba is if you kind of dig through the information, you can find out a lot of times what the factory name is, and then you can go directly to their website and they'll have like how to contact them, what services they provide, and a lot of times they do provide like full service manufacturing. One of the more recent ways to find a factory for your brand is based on the fact that transparency has become such a huge issue in the fashion industry. There are 17 companies who have agreed to be fully transparent about what factories they're using, where they're located, how many factory workers are working in that facility. There's a ton of information. So I've included the article in which it talks about what companies are abiding by this and kind of what that means for the fashion industry in my blog post, so definitely check that out. And the really amazing thing about it is you can literally go directly onto their website and see what factories they're working with. So for example, Adidas is one of the brands who's decided to be transparent. And if you go onto their website, I have the link in my blog post, you can download a spreadsheet of what factories they're working with. They update it twice a year. And if you are looking to produce footwear or athletic apparel, you can go directly on there and see what factories they're working with, where they're sourcing their fabrics, and you can start your search from there. It's a really great jumping off point. I think for a lot of you, it may not be that you end up working exactly with those factories, especially because they're probably creating, millions of garments every year, and you may not be to that point yet, but it is such an amazing jumping off point. And on some of those factory websites, they may even connect you to other factories. You could reach out to them directly and ask if they know any lower minimum factories that you could contact. I mean, it's such an amazing way for you to get connected with factories and sourcing. Definitely check it out. Again, I have all of those links in my blog post. And the final way to look for manufacturing for your apparel business is to go onto a paid search platform like Maker's Row, where you can pay essentially. They have different tiers, and you can pay to be connected to a factory. So you might be wondering how to make sure that a factory is right for you, and I have sort of like a few points that I like to look for when I'm researching manufacturers. The first is trying to align the minimum that you are looking to order. Factories operate by minimums, so they will have a minimum amount that you have to order in order for them to give you the project or the bid. And so there are low minimums manufacturers, and there's also high minimum manufacturers. So if you're looking to produce a ton of apparel, obviously you're going to want a high minimum manufacturer because your price will be lower. Or if you're looking to just produce, 100 or fewer or somewhere around there, then you're going to want to look for low minimum manufacturers. And you just want to make sure that you're aligning sort of like your brand goals with what the factory is able to provide for you. Fair working conditions and sustainability are great things to pay attention to as well, especially as transparency becomes more important going forward in the fashion industry. Some other things that you may want to pay attention to are the location of your factory in relation to where you're importing it to. So just paying attention to if there's any special tariffs and or taxes that are going to be put onto your products and what that means for the bottom line. You'll also want to pay attention to the kind of communication you're able to have with your factory. In most cases, you will run into some cultural and language barriers, and that's completely normal, but kind of having those beginning conversations with your factory and just kind of getting a sense of their communication style and if it's going to work with your communication style. You'll also want to pay attention to the transparency of the factory. In some cases, they may have so much work that they need to outsource your project to another factory, and you kind of just want to make sure that you're asking those questions up front so that you really know where your garments are being manufactured, so that you're not providing any false information on your website or to your consumers. So essentially, that's it for finding manufacturing and sourcing for your apparel brand. It does take some digging and it does take some time, but after you do a little bit of research or use some of these guides or tips that I've talked about today, you'll be able to get a better idea of where to look and how to find a factory that's right for you and your brand. I'd like to just reiterate that when you do reach out to a factory, you will need either technical sketches or a full tech pack in order for them to give you a quote or to, in some cases, even talk to you about your project. If you are interested in creating that for yourself, just follow this entire series if you're just tuning in now to the last section. It's a full series. It goes through all of the information that you need in order to be prepared to reach out to your factory. Some of the questions that you'll need to be ready to answer are how many units you're producing, what styles, colors, and sizes you'll be producing, and what your timeline is for production. So with all of this information and with this whole series, you are ready to go out there and produce your very first apparel product or accessory, and I'm so excited for you guys. So thank you so much for joining me on this 10-part series. Please go check out the fashion resource directory. You can always reach out to me via my contact page on my website and let me know what you think. If you think I should add any sections, I'm totally open to suggestions, and I really want it to just be a place where we can all work together to lift each other up and recommend great factories and get you guys connected with them. And yeah, I'm just so excited about it. It's such a huge accomplishment for me to be launching this, and I really hope you enjoy it. So thank you again for tuning in, and please like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys in 2020 for my next series, but I'll definitely be doing some videos and blog posts in between now and then.